Hey, everybody, Off the Mic Sports Network here. Another edition of Off the Top Rope. I don't usually do a lot of Collision content because, let's be real, who watches Collision unless you're a sicko? Um, but I did see something interesting. You can watch some of these shows mostly because of social media. Toni Storm, and I've sang the praises of Toni Storm on this channel, like at length. And I said when this match with Mercedes Mone was made officially at Double or Nothing, when Mercedes won the Owen Hart Cup tournament, which is effectively King and Queen of the Ring. Really, that's what it's their version of it. So literally, Mercedes wins. I said from jump, and you guys can go watch it. You go find it out here on the channel. I said that Toni Storm was going to have to carry this feud because Mercedes was not capable of cutting compelling promos and getting into a promo battle with Toni Storm. We saw them try to do something right out of the gate. It wasn't very good. It was very basic. But Toni Storm comes out in her Carmen Sandiego trench coat from Grand Slam, Mexico. She said she's disappointed in Mercedes Mone for telling her they would have the biggest women's match of all time, and she's only there to eat steak, play on her phone, and attempt to kiss her. She said, yeah, you're still in Mexico because you won yet another championship, and it's just another toy to your collection. I want to say this as nicely as possible, Toni says, and this was one of the best lines. I am not some other motherfucker. I'm timeless Toni Storm. I'm the AEW Women's World Champion. And if you make one false move, I'm going to eat you alive. Seriously, man, like this is just, I mean, there was more stuff in it, but that was the powerful part. I mean, there was talking about when the belt is on her bosom, she makes magic happen. So yeah, there was pulling a rabbit out of that. There's a lot of goofy stuff in here, but that's the timeless Toni Storm character. But I wanted to bring this up because we have basically been through about 4 weeks of television since this match became official. And this is supposed to be one of your main events of the show. And I've said this about the all-in build. This has not felt like a really strong build. In one promo over the course of 2 to 3 minutes, Toni Storm by herself has lifted this feud with Mercedes Mone. She's that damn good. And I give Toni Storm a ton of credit for doing all that she could to just lift this thing up because Mercedes, as far as outside of the ring, is a bunch of dead weight. I give him credit for trying to spit, and she made it this whole spin of Mercedes not taking Toni seriously, which is really an interesting route to take when, you know, you're building this as two of the greatest women's wrestlers in all of professional wrestling, not just in AEW, and you're making it about stake. I do think, in some respect, looking in hindsight back at the last few weeks, they did at least a decent enough job of protecting Mercedes from looking bad. But then you had this whole experience in Mexico where she just won another championship for no reason other than to just win another championship. But I said this 3-4 weeks ago. I said this from the minute that this feud became official, and what I feared is that Mercedes is not gifted enough on the microphone to hold a candle to what Toni Storm can do. Some people can debate me about Mercedes' wrestling ability compared to Toni. Toni is comparable, if not better. And if you got a problem with me saying that, you have not watched Toni Storm wrestle, okay? She is as talented on the microphone as she is in the ring. She has been a gift to this company in a lot of ways, and I think I might have said this in other... Toni is the antithesis of what Mercedes represents in AEW. Mercedes did a lot of hard work to get where she was, but now that she's at the top, really, and gotten everything that she wants, she's just getting handed opportunities. Toni was handed nothing when she got to AEW. She was an outcast from WWE. She wanted out of there. She was getting she was getting whipped cream pies in her face. It was Charlotte Flair. She never got a proper feud on the main roster. And she didn't really amount to anything. Mind you, this was a woman who beat the then Io Shirai, now Io Sky, in the second and last ever Mae Young Classic. This is a talented woman, okay? And it did not work early on. She was in the midst of a lot of bullshit with Thunder Rosa, and, you know, the title being shifted from her from Britt Baker to Thunder Rosa, and then Thunder Rosa getting hurt, and there was some complications over who she was. Like, Toni Storm's entire first reign as women's world champion, like, think about this. Toni Storm's entire first run as women's world champion in AEW was considered an interim run until the last day she held it when Jamie Hayter beat her. Then she beats Jamie Hayter in probably her worst form in AEW as an outcast, only to then surprisingly lose it to Hikaru Shida, then to just, in a roundabout way, get it back as timeless Toni Storm when we got, I think it was like full gear. And then she's proceeded to hold it now for the fourth time. And she's walking into this match. And I think a lot of people are just really like, unless you've really been in the wrestling business, don't really understand how great Toni Storm has been. And what this promo reminded me of is why she has been the ace of this company. You could make the argument she is maybe the biggest star in AEW. You could make an argument because what she has been able to create, as comical and as outlandish as this gimmick has been, she has created one of the great original characters in professional wrestling, which is really hard to do now. And with a 50s movie star gimmick that she's had, she's made it relevant. She's made it stick. She's made herself matter, even as over the top as this is, as a women's world champion. And with all that being said, her winning this match at All In does nothing for her, which is one of the main reasons why I think it was a terrible idea to go to this match in the first place. And the story that they're trying to tell, Toni did as good of a job as she could of trying to meld this into something that's going to make sense. But the reality of the situation is I spelled this out. I basically said, listen, the two options here are Mercedes wins and she gets another championship, or Toni wins and all of the equity that was built up with Mercedes and all the what you're trying to tell that she's this belt collector, you're basically putting down your whole women's division, because everybody that she has beaten to get to this point, that gets sacrificed for Toni Storm. Toni Storm doesn't need to have this match. For some reason, Mercedes needs to have this match because she needs another championship to fight over. But the big thing that came out of this show that I saw from that promo is Toni Storm is so fucking good that Mercedes Mone doesn't even need to fucking show up. And I thought that was going to be a huge detriment to the show. I don't know if Toni can keep this up for 3 weeks, but that was an unbelievable example of how great a talent is, that they can just lift. Because with all due respect, what is Mercedes without her wrestling? She's nothing. She is dead weight. She is absolute dead weight because she cannot hold a candle to what Toni Storm can in the ring. You saw it the first time that they stared at each other. There was a bunch of stuff there. And then for 2 weeks, they had Toni wrestle while Mercedes was eating dinner. And then Mercedes is wrestling for a championship that she didn't need. Toni comes out at the end to make it as entertaining as she can in the only women's segment that was on that show, by the way. So, listen, man. I don't know what to tell you Mercedes stands anymore. I really don't. Because you're so dead set in your ways that you don't understand how fucking great Toni Storm is. And she is literally the antithesis of everything that Mercedes represents. She is self-made in about every sense of the word. Mercedes she built up a lot of her stuff through WWE, but since she got to AEW, she has not done a damn thing differently than she did. She is making money and winning championships off of her past success. Toni Storm has had to make every single one of her opportunities for herself, whether it was as a rocker, whether it was as an outcast, whether it was as timeless. And on top of this, she put over Mariah May and helped make her a star, to the point where Mariah May got the fuck out of there and now is in WWE. So, listen, I don't know how this match is going to go. It's a bad idea either way. But the big takeaway is Toni Storm is absolutely carrying this feud. A women's championship feud is being carried by the women's champion. Go figure. And yet, the story that they're trying to tell is really just not a great idea. It's like, oh yeah, Mercedes doesn't care. She's fighting for the damn women's championship because she has 97 accessories on her arms everywhere and doesn't even bother to show up to work anymore. It's just, seriously, man. Like, if you do not understand the greatness of Toni Storm, I suggest, if you're going to watch one thing from Collision, go and watch this promo that she had. She had a promo earlier this year on Collision that was unbelievable when she became timeless again. She is that damn good. So I think we need to recognize that. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys. Bye-bye.